closer. I'm about to give you all. I said all of me. Boy, tell me what you like, cause you know I ain't to please. See, it's been way too long. It's been way too damn long. And I need it, baby. Don't you know I need you, baby? Need that I ain't seen you in a very long time. I'm about to give you what's exactly on my mind. So come on, baby. Hey, I say come on, baby. Kiss me where I like it and bring me what's mine. I need you closer, closer, closer enough to feel your hands on my hips. I need you closer, close enough to taste your lips on my lips. I need you closer. Yeah, you can get this sweet love, baby. Break me off a little bit, you can get this sweet love, baby. I need you closer, closer, closer. Yeah, I need you closer.
Hashtag I'm just saying I'm yours truly, MemeMichelle. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start that thing from the top, and I'm going to do it kind of fast, even though our guest is not here, and I really don't want to start our topic without him. So, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We've covered that before. Click your emojis, ask questions, get involved, just be a part of the show. And if you have any questions that you want to ask us about the topic, please feel free. And we pray that today's topic will help somebody. We pray that today's topic is not just for show, but it's a cleansing not only for us, but for those who are watching. So we were talking about, should I go back for the drink of the day?
Yes.
The Mi Amor.
That's what it's about. This is heaven.
Because the topic is so deep, I had to make us a drink. It's a little strong, but it's smooth. It's a vodka cognac blend. And it took me a minute to come up with the name, but it's a 20 gram vodka cognac peach. And it's equal parts with the 20 gram and the pomegranate liqueur, and then double parts, because what I got took a shot glass. Mm-hmm. So
tell us how we did it, because
I need to make it live online. Okay, so
get you what you got right here. This for all the ladies love Cool J. You're gonna love this cool
I ain't lying.
I mean, it's good. It's
okay, what? Here he comes. Oh, here he comes. So when he comes, y'all, boost his self-esteem and click the hearts. Yay! So just have a seat right here. We already started. We've started 2 times because the camera was messed up. So here we go. You take your shot glass, right? And you take your 20 gram peach, pour that in. And then you take the pomegranate liqueur, 1 shot glass, pour that in. Then I need you to go to H-E-B, if you have an H-E-B or whatever. Okay. And you can use lemonade.
It's the pomegranate.
Right. Mm-hmm. I use the apple lemon ginger. That's what gives it that exuberance. You take 2 shot glasses of that, put it over ice, then top it off with the sweet Blanco. Stir it up, because I don't want to use soda today. We really need something strong. Taste your drink and tell me what you think. The Mi Amor. Because after today's topic, we need a little love.
That's nice.
Nice. Yes. So.
I could tell how you was licking your lip. It was nice. I was like, okay,
yes.
Good to me.
So, that's today's drink. Let's start with the hot topic first before we get to our main topic. Okay. So, did you see the young man, it was a black man, he was babysitting 2 white kids?
Yes.
Okay. No, so I don't have to explain the story. What's your thoughts on that?
First of all, it's sad.
Yeah.
I was talking to a close...
You're going to have to speak up because you got that baritone.
I was having a discussion with somebody close to me, and we were talking about how basically what Trump has done was...
That's what we just said.
What him being in office has allowed literally a nationwide profiling. Mm-hmm. The police do not have to racially profile you anymore. Because the people do. Yeah, and so the police, they hide behind suspicion, or just for the safety, for the concern, or whatever. But as long as somebody else outside the police can profile you and call the police, then that profiling part from the police is already done. So basically, you cut out the, I'm gonna say the middleman, but you give position to where they could do what they was normally doing
Anyway. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's always been there, but because the head of our country perpetuates blatant racism.
So we're going back.
We're going backwards. We're going back in time. And what I was saying before, Bruce kindly told us that the camera was twisted sideways.
Thank you,
Is
Bruce.
that,
Thank
thank you, Bruce. Is that the black people of the 50s and the 60s, we don't have those black people today. And you're gonna run up on the wrong person, and it's gonna be some drama. Now, it's gonna be a different consequence because we don't have the complexion for the protection, but we're not afraid to step out there and check it and make it right. America, we need to grow up, we need to do better, we need to be better. And it's people out there that don't feel that way, but it's a lot of people out there that do feel that way. So the people who don't feel that way, speak up, say something. You know, because black people just don't mean us. Black and brown means Spanish, it means Asian. Don't let the people come together as one. Woo! I'm telling you, we need to get it together. We need to make a change. They got anything to say, D, before we move on? Okay. So, today's topic is growing up, the child of an addict, and its effects. We pray that the three of us being transparent, being vulnerable, helps not only us, but helps someone else. A lot of people know my story, but I'm very transparent because the more I talk about it, the more I heal. I believe in therapy, which I've never had for it, but I believe because I talk about it so much that I kind of heal from it. So if you are a child of an addict, or if you are an addict that's struggling, please get some help. And if you don't know who to call, my mother works in recovery. My aunt knows people in recovery, and you can inbox me, and I will forward your information to them. Nobody has to know, and we will get you some help. Or if you're a child of an addict, even if you're an adult, sometimes the things you go through as a child of an addict, you kind of stay that age sometimes. So if you need to talk, reach out. I'm willing to message you and let it be real. Don't waste my time, and I won't waste yours. So let's get this thing started. Describe your childhood.
For me?
Anybody, jump in.
My childhood was.
And y'all don't have to speak up because this room is big.
Oh, sorry. So my childhood was kind of somber.
Okay.
So I just remember being lively but somber, taking everything very seriously, and then often feeling like a project. Like something that people had to work on because my father died when I was maybe like 5. And so my mom was an addict, and she was just out of the picture. So everyone kind of had to do things for me. It was like they were on assignment. My aunts and uncles, they did things for me to make sure I got what I needed.
Yeah.
And I was grateful for that. But, you grow up feeling like you owe people something for just doing what they're supposed to do.
Loving you. What about you?
I grew up, my childhood was more geared around old school country raising mixed with military.
Okay.
So the strict to the point of how I was raised, everything had to be in order. In retrospect, there were a lot of, sometimes there was good times, but when it was, when the clouds was, rolling in, you had to walk on pins and needles.
Absolutely.
And this is, my topic is gonna be on my dad, and this is my dad.
Okay.
And this is even my mom, my sister. We just was all like, you don't know
On the fence.
this man is gonna
Pop off.
snap.
Yeah.
So that's like I said, when it was good, it was good. I wouldn't say my dad was a bad man. He was just
lost.
Yeah, he's in a bad situation, a bad headspace. I mean, I learned a lot from this man. I learned a lot of good things that made me man. So I don't have nothing bad. It's just with what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The child was pretty. It was.
Harrison, speak louder.
Oh, they say speak louder? Okay. So for me, when I was growing up, I really grew up in a household with my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, and all my aunts and my cousins. Because as a small child, my dad was incarcerated. I didn't know that. But it was that move to Houston is when I saw a difference, because even though we grew up middle class poor, until I moved to Houston, I didn't know that. Because my grandparents and my mom took really good care of us. But when my mom moved out and then my dad got out of the penitentiary, which I didn't really know what that was. I was 9 years old, but I learned really quick. And it wasn't until we moved to Houston that I saw the demise of what drugs could do. And I'll get into when I realized he was a drug addict. But when did you realize that your childhood with the addicted parent that you had was different than other kids?
For me, like when I went to college, and I heard about how some of my friends live, and that's when I realized, hey, I was poor, and I probably got slighted a little bit because of my mom not being there, you know, on little things, and then especially raising my own family.
Yeah. What about you?
Right around 6th grade. I just remember, like, my dad just going through this spiel of, it was a lot of tears. He was apologizing. He was telling me to stay away from drugs. And so I'm just kind of like,
why?
You know, I'm like, okay, can I go play now? I mean, okay. But then, like, from there were, when you're in a little town, you hear whispers, you know. I remember getting into fights because kids were calling my dad the Weed King. You know, and to me that was just disrespectful. So I'm like, you know,
you're fighting.
Not realizing, you know, that this is really what's going on. Yeah. You know, I always knew my parents. You know, I call my parents hippies. I knew about the marijuana. I knew about the weed. This is gonna sound crazy, but from about when I was able to walk and remember,
there was always weed.
That was norm. Their friends, their little hippie friends coming over, black, white, Mexican, real grills, 8-tracks.
Yeah.
Weed was like a air freshener in the house. So that it wasn't even a drug. Weed at the time to me was like a cigarette.
Like a cigarette.
And that's the truth, because you know, when we talk about drug addiction, although people do have issues with marijuana, that ain't what we talking about here today, people.
Right.
We are talking about real deal hardcore. Okay, so let's sidebar. What was your mother's drug of choice?
Her drug of choice was, eventually it was cocaine and then crack cocaine. And I mean, I always grew up with my mom would have a beer with breakfast and the weed tray under the bed, and it was always that. And pills and stuff. So, yeah.
What was your father's drug of choice?
Cocaine.
Okay. And my father's drug of choice was heroin. They're all bad, but you guys are gonna see the effects of each individual beast, because like my dad would get high and just kind of go to sleep. But the things that he would do, because they used to call heroin, it'll make you sell your soul, like, because their body hurts for it. So when I noticed things were different, so when we moved to Houston, and I noticed that sometimes we didn't have lights. We were living on Gulfton at the time. I was 10 years old, and we didn't even have a dime. I went to Cunningham Elementary, and my mother didn't even have a dime because a school bus didn't come to get us. We had to ride the city bus, and she couldn't even give me a dime to ride the bus. And I was walking down the street looking for pennies so I could ride the school bus to school. And we would have no furniture in the house, or sometimes the lights were off. And I knew that this was different from when I lived with my grandmother. But I knew my dad had a problem, and I recognized that when I was 9. But sleeping on the porch with the doors open because it was so hot. And I was looking around. I remember one day I asked my mom, I was like, what do I tell the other kids when they ask me, what does your dad do for a living? That's a lot of pressure on a child, you know, because you already have different things that you're dealing with. And I know it kind of broke my mom's heart because she was like, baby, just tell him. I don't even know what she told me to tell him, but I remember asking her that. Or I remember, you know, how come we don't have furniture? I remember those types of things. So when and how did you discover that your parent was an addict? Anybody jump in.
There were a couple of times I remember, because I was raised by my grandmother, so I only lived with her for a couple of years. But I can remember being hungry and trying to make a turkey in the oven and almost burn the house down. And then, like, in the subsequent day or so, I was in my bedroom asleep in our apartment, and I saw her doing cocaine with her boyfriend in the living room, and I was like, you know, you see this on TV as a child, and so I've never seen it, but I saw it, and then I saw her, and I was like,
wow,
what is going on? And then a little bit after that, I moved back to live with my grandmother where I was, because it was just like, oh, so this is why I don't
have no food.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, everything is retrospective because at the time, I just simply thought we were poor. I mean, we just didn't have the means. Looking back, you know, my dad was a vet.
Okay. That's different.
We have 4 people, but we have 4 people in the house. So I got a disability check. My little brother got a disability check. My mom got a disability check. But we eating weenies. Cold cuts, and I remember this is one of it's funny to me, but the money okay, so my dad was buying drugs. The gist of it was my dad was always a hustler, so you know we move slow, income's cocaine, but what happens? You become a product of you start using what you, and that's now it's, you know, we used to live next door to Miami Darky. You know, El Campo, you know, decent size. Well, I'm a kid. I don't know why this is happening, but we have no lights, we have no water in this house. My dad, it's dark outside. So, you know, with her being next door, you know, kind of like the backyards are joined, we can just go right. He grabs the Dawn and takes me over in the backyard. And we are outside with the water hose, bathing.
Woo!
Outside behind my aunt's, my daughter's house. And I don't know about it.
Yeah.
I'm just, hey. And plus, when John Jr. say do something,
You
don't ask questions.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that. I didn't know at the time that the effects was. This was the effects. No lights, no food, and all this. This was all. You don't know.
Yeah.
But when you grow and you understand what was going on and what he was saying, and all the stories and the whispers were true. Plus, me and my dad, he's come forth with some truths.
Gotcha.
So, you know, that's, and it wasn't just one time. These were,
I understand.
it got to the point to where I just get sent over there. He didn't even have to go over there and bathe in the backyard. Okay.
I think I don't think I know, when I discovered, oh, go ahead. What they got to say, D?
So, roll it back. Butchie says we're not going backwards. It's always been there, but with this clown in office, they feel like like they have their back. So
Yeah.
I feel like this administration has their back
Yeah.
to act, to clown, like he said. Bruce says, my family has raised children of addicts. They turned out great.
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle Wood just says hello to the panel.
Hey, Michelle. So, when I discovered that my father was an addict, he was out of the penitentiary, but in a halfway house. And my mom worked at a nursing home. And he worked at like a grocery supply. And he was able to come see us on the weekends because he had to go to work. And so what he did was he took my mom, I don't know if I've told this story before, he dropped my mom off at work at the hospital. And then he and I went riding. And I'm sitting in the car and we go to the Blue Myers. That's a project in St. Louis. And I remember at 9 years old being in that car an awful long time. And I was afraid. And I was like, what is taking Daddy so long? Daddy finally came out and I kind of noticed he looked really tired. So we go back home and go to the restroom. He goes to the restroom and he never comes out. Now, rewind the tape, that was when Ronald Reagan was in office, and it was the Say No to Dope campaign, and in school they would show us these films.
Yeah.
And it was like really graphic. Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, dang, they show people sniffing lines,
Yeah.
they show people smoking weed, they show people lighting the heroin on a spoon. And why, as a 9-year-old child, that I put that together, that my dad had went in the bathroom, tied his arm up. I've never seen him. Let me just be clear. I've never seen my dad use ever. I was blessed. Me and my sister were blessed in that retrospect that we've never seen him use. We've experienced some things. He's never tried to sell us. You know how, because we're blessed because I have family members from that side of the family where it wasn't that pleasant for them. But I visualized him in the bathroom doing what that man did in the film. And it was,
Not knowing
that's what he was really doing. It was like the Holy Spirit had said, this is what he's doing, baby. And it was so bad that my mom didn't get off to it because my mom worked 3 to 11 then. He was still so high that he had to call his mom, my late granny, to come pick us up, to drive to the nursing home, to pick my mom up from work because he couldn't drive. So that's when I discovered that my father was an addict. So describe your parent as a person. Anybody? You already said he was military.
But to me,
That says a lot.
John Jr. will always be a great man to me.
I agree with that.
He was like a jack of all trades,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of like if there was before my dad would not. He always did something to keep food on the table. I will give him that. I've been some places. With my old man, my Aunt Betty. You know, I didn't.
Can they hear me?
Y'all know what Betty is?
I didn't realize my Aunt Betty wasn't
What's your Aunt Betty?
until I was about 22.
Come on now.
Oh, I see. Okay,
I knew what he said when he said Aunt Betty anyway.
He said,
Okay, I'm
good
slow.
with it.
So like
Help me keep up.
he as a man, I mean back then he was that don't blame Mr. Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
He was that guy. But you know, as a father, he tried.
Yeah. He did the best he could with what he had.
It's just, you know, he had some demons he had to deal with, and we'll get into the drug part about it. But as a man, I really can't fault up until the drug part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't fault who he was. He's a man I looked up to. I feared. I mean, he whooped my ass when I needed my ass
Oh,
whooped.
baby.
You want to speak up a little bit,
and my cousins. He whooped my ass, my cousins' asses. I mean, he was a disciplinarian. He was a great man. It's just by the time we got to the drug part, or that I knew of it.
Right.
Because my mom, she knew it out here. Is, you know, when I was smaller, there was some stuff she had to deal with. Yeah. So, but when I started realizing the drug use, up until that point, I mean,
He was just
my
your
dad.
daddy.
He was my dad.
What about your mom?
We're a little muffled, so just
Oh,
make sure
okay.
that you can hear.
Is this better? I hope. So the interesting thing about my mother is I really, from birth to 3rd grade, I didn't know much about her in that way.
Okay.
But then in 4th and 5th grade, I lived with her, and it was a blessing because I got to learn who she was as a mother. She was very rigid and regimented and disciplined and really focused on education for me. And as a person, I think that she's very kind. She's very, very giving and generous. The only thing is, I hated her. Hated her. And I got married in my 20s and had kids when I was younger in life. And I could not understand how you couldn't get it together. It took me probably up until now, and I'm in my 40s, to say, this thing called life is hard as hell, and people just do the best they can do. And then when I look at the historical context of drugs in America and how they pushed it to our communities, and then I think about, like, my mother started smoking cigarettes when she was 13, and I just found that out this year because she had lung cancer, and I'm like, what the hell was your mama? So now when I look at her, I see a full view.
You see her as a woman, not as your mom.
Yeah, I see her and I'm like, you know, she made bad choices, but life is hard on top of bad choices, and I don't know what her upbringing was, so I'm more sympathetic to her. And I think she's just, you know, she's kind and maybe easily swayed. And it's hard, it's easy to be swayed when you've done drugs. And one of the things she told me was that her baby brother introduced her to cocaine. So, and her best friend introduced her to crack.
Gotcha.
So those are the people that you go to when
That you
you're
love, that you
vulnerable.
trust.
And then they're like, this is gonna make you feel better, and then you do it. And so I just, it's hard. Life is hard, and being African American, we've experienced a lot. And when I just really thinking about how they push drugs in our community, that's like genocide.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it pisses me the fuck off, and I'm
Say what you gotta say. This is,
because then
this
you
is
have
hashtag I'm just saying, say that.
and that's what I'm just saying, piss me the fuck out. But then you have a generation of people who already have psychosocial problems,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so now you compound them. And then you walking up on me in Walmart, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, because you're not going to need, like, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. And I hate to be a potty mouth, but sometimes being articulate is not enough. Sometimes you just got to say
what
those
you gotta
words.
say. Yeah.
But I thank God that she made it.
Yes, because she
That's
didn't
what I
have to.
think. I thank God that she is still alive.
Yeah.
I really, really do. And that he's given her a chance to make amends of her life.
And to get it right.
Yeah.
If I could describe my dad, I would say that he was intelligent, he was witty, he was talented, he was charismatic, he was a hustler, he was a lot of, and oh baby, that smile, and a voice of an angel. He could sing me and my sister up under the table. We are both quite talented.
Yes, God.
He was loving, he was caring, but at the same time, he was broken. Because then the next question I was going to ask, when he was 13, he made a very bad choice. He was smoking weed at first. Like now they do lean, but he was just sipping straight codeine from time to time. But when he was 13, he had a best friend, I think 13 or 14 years old, and she was like, I got something. And so I dare you to try it. And she brought it, she tied his arm up, they set him down because, they were experimenting. So kids, if you're watching or if you know your kids are watching, sit down and talk to them because it's so much out there. And they tied his arm, he said, because he was scared of needles. And he said the euphoria he felt when she injected him changed his life. So by the time he met my mom, he wasn't a stone cold. He was still having it together. He was a functioning addict. He was a drug dealer. He pushed drugs, but he also had an issue. And his big brother, he wanted to be like his big brother. So his big brother did drugs too. All his cousins did drugs. That was the 70s when heroin and cocaine was just like weed. They did, and now, they've been talking about, they've been locking black people up for marijuana. They've been locking black people up for crack. But you go to rehab for cocaine. And now they trying to send young white kids to rehab for heroin. They're sick. They have problems. So I think, our people should have got the same care. But it was genocide. They was trying to demolish us, not knowing that it wasn't just going to be us using it. My mom worked. Now it's a problem.
Right.
So tell me, when did your parents start using, or do you know?
I don't know the age, probably at 15, 16. I know she started skipping school and doing marijuana, and then that's how I got here. Thank you, Jesus, I came. But then when she was maybe in her early 30s, maybe that's when the cocaine and then crack and there was one time when it was horrible.
Got you. I understand.
It was horrible.
I
and
understand.
she did not stop until recently this March.
But you know what? God gave her a chance to get it right. He gave her a chance to get it right, and we'll just have to keep her lifted in prayer because that's a long time to be an addict.
Yes.
She just got to live day by day, take it day by day. When did your father start using it? Probably. You don't know.
I don't know. When I from early on, as I can remember, when I was toddling around, being able to start remembering stuff, weed was there. I mean, it was nothing for me. You can go through our place and it's maybe a Hispanic guy over there, being around the table, and just the biggest piles at the time. It was like a movie blow.
Yeah.
It was like just weed everywhere, and it's just I'm just running around doing my thing there. Everybody's doing, so that puts them at about 30. You go to what? If I'm in, let's say around 10, 11, I was gonna say 6th grade, whatnot. That's when that talk, that teary-eyed talk.
Because he was suffering, he was struggling.
So my dad be gone for like days.
I know.
That's when they been.
But it's not, I know, but he was also, I would say he was hustling too, for the simple fact that as a kid, your mom says, your daddy gone. Well, I know what happens when he gets back. He comes back with gifts. He comes back with gifts.
So now as an adult, you can process that.
Yeah, I know what's going on, but at the time, I'm like, oh, daddy gone? Okay.
When you come back, you gonna have some.
But it was always a little sad. And then in the background, a lot of times, there's these closed door arguments, but as a kid, you like, I'm going outside to play. Yeah. That's none of my business anyway.
Yeah.
Because they don't tell you to stay out of it.
That's not it. But there was always, he get back, there's these arguments, gifts, and, I remember specifically one time, it was kind of like, he gifted her something, and she kind of like slapped it, and so they got into an argument. I'm thinking to myself, well, I got mine.
See, we didn't come up with no gifts when he would go out and be gone for a long time. Because it was nothing for my mama to come home. This is what my mom started doing. She started hiding her money and stuff in books. Because I remember a day, God rest the baby, rest your soul, Daddy. She had just got paid. It was rent time. and he stole her whole check. So now my mom has to figure out how to pay our bills. I'm in the 8th grade, and that just broke my heart, because by that time I knew my dad had an issue. You know, when I was about 10 or 11, I knew he did heroin. I knew that was his drug of choice, but I never seen him do it. But just like you said, it was people all around. Well, it was always people at our house, always. And they was always smoking weed, but they had this look. There's this look a heroin addict has that no other drug addict has. You know, cocaine addict like bibbidi bop. They're like, yeah, and then woo, not heroin addict. There's this look. Their hands look different, and so when I see it, I recognize it, and it's like, woo, that takes me to a place. But
that's our question for you.
We got a question. Come on with it.
Did your friends know your parents were on drugs?
Well, both my parents weren't on drugs, just my dad. And by the time I was in high school, I think my closest friends that I hung out with, because I didn't really have a lot of girlfriends. I hung with a few chicks, but I hung with the brothers that protected me. And I thank God for them, because of the things that they really didn't know I was going through at home. They made sure nobody could get in. But I think they knew. If you say my dad never combed his hair, my mom said when they was growing up, he took great pride in his appearance. He was pretty. My dad was pretty. But by the time I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, Tina has this story when she was in the 5th grade, and she sang "You Bring Me Joy" for the last recital of school. She was in the 5th grade, and none of her classmates knew that she had this big old grown voice. So when she starts singing "You Bring Me Joy,"
All right now.
my dad jumped on the table with his hair never combed in his suit. So that's my baby. Embarrassing. So I think they knew. Did y'all friends know? You said you heard the whispers on the street.
Well, but like when it started taking that downturn. See, we grew up in a community where it was really children. It wasn't children's business. But I knew, like, friends of the family, especially family, like my older cousins, my grown-up cousins, his sisters knew, my aunts knew.
How my family knew, for sure.
My little friends, unless they heard whisperings in their
household,
but it never came outside of that weed king. The downside of stuff, the addict part of it, never came to me.
Gotcha.
So I think my friends knew. We didn't talk about it, but then like my closer friends, when I graduated, they knew, because I would talk about it. And then when they would run into people that they knew that had issues with parents or spouses or whatever, they would say, well, you need to talk to her, because I don't know how she dealt with it. And by the time I became an adult, I accepted that that's the lifestyle she chose.
Yeah.
And I just,
because that's how you cope. You find close friends that you could really talk to, and you know that's how you cope. Because if you don't, it'll drive you crazy. So my question to y'all is, how did being the child of an addict parent affect you?
So for me, I think it made me over appreciative. Because there were so many people that I have to thank for my life. And when I say thank for my life, like when I was an infant, my mother would leave me with people that my family didn't know. So I'm not a toddler, I'm an infant. You know, people were kidnapping infants, you know. So they would call and say, hey, it's 4 o'clock, it's 3:30, is Miss Davis there? Because I have her granddaughter. So I just think that it made me very appreciative of my family for the sacrifices they made, take time away from their families to do the things that my mother should have done. but it also made me very keen on people and personalities, because I know the times that it didn't bother my aunt to pick me up, and I know the time it pissed her off.
Yeah.
And I know the times that my mom came through the door and she was like, I've been here doing all this shit, where the hell you been? Because you could see it on her face. So I kind of picked up on that a bit more, but I think it just made me over appreciative to the point that sometimes it's been a fault. Because I'm so grateful that somebody moved this glass from here to here. That's not normal to be that grateful that you looked out for me on the glass. So I've had to make adjustments on that.
Yeah. What about you?
The first thing it did was I had a great fear of cocaine. When I say a great fear of cocaine, I remember when I, you come across, when I was actually selling cocaine, I never seen anybody do it in person.
Okay.
So, I made the drop off, and it was this couple. It was this white couple, and before I could get halfway out the door, at the
They
point
broke
my
it down.
eyes up, they did a line, and I froze. And then I just realized, I was like, man, I gotta get the hell away from here. It really fucked with me, because just everything came back. When they sniffed that line, like, I never saw my dad do it. It was the effects. Like, when I talked about the gifts, eventually we would be I would be riding with him with these gifts to the pawn shop. And I'd never see them again.
So I just want to clarify. So he brought the gifts.
Yes.
And
Eventually,
then when he needed to get more drugs, he would go take the gifts and.
Well, I put it like this. I don't know what. I can't say what he was doing. I could say it could be for the drugs. Sometimes it could have been to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I just know as first the gifts were mine.
And then they were
It
taken.
started, I guess, during the heavy use of it. Here we're going to the pawn shop to take these back.
See, I knew when he would take this stuff from me, that's what it was for.
And then there was I'll never forget one of the best 2 days of my life. It's funny because you look back, I should have been, CPS should have scooped me up. My dad left me at an arcade from about 10 o'clock that morning. He told the guy that the owner of the arcade, I guess, to watch over me, and whatever I did, he was gonna cover the tab when I got back. I played video games and ate I played Big Doug almost all day. And then I not realizing, cause I'm playing video games. I'm a kid in the
You
arcade
satisfied.
playing
That's
any
it.
game I want to all day. Go get all the quarters I want. Not realizing I didn't see this man again until about 10 o'clock that night.
Wow.
And I'm in an arcade by myself. I don't have a cousin, a friend, a relative. I'm a little kid in this arcade by myself.
And the man is watching you, making sure you do it.
But under the care of somebody else.
Yes.
And then the other time was, I'll never forget, he just came to me. I'm packing around about $1,000 in my pocket. He leave me at the mall. And didn't live in Houston at the time. He bought me into Houston. We had the Northline Mall at the time. Dropped me off at the Northline Mall. I had all this money. I'm going to the movies. I'm doing whatever I want to do. Hey, cool. Not realizing I have all this money. It's just
How old were you?
when this happened, I remember because I saw Batman when it first came out, the very, very first Batman. So I think I was going to the 7th grade.
Wow.
And I'm just doing me. To the point I was like, I almost bought my dad some damn Jordans.
Cause you had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but then he picks me up. Then I end up going and I'm sleeping on, I don't know who these people's couch is. I'm sleeping on their couch. And then we go back to my aunt's house, and then he comes in the house.
Real honor the friend aunt. Real honor the friend
Or Aunt Betty, was it?
No. It's my real aunt.
Your real aunt.
The Aunt Dorothy that we was bathing behind her house.
Okay.
So it's almost, I was happy as a kid because my cousins were there, but he was stashing me there. Like, this was like, hey, basically, let Lil John stay over here.
Right.
But then it was this one night he came in, all that money I had, he came in the middle of the night and asked for it and took off. And that was the last time I seen him for the next 15 years.
Wow.
My mom had to come, she had to come pick me up. There was a whole thing. He was in jail. She got the car, came back. The car had a bullet slug in the hood.
He was out there doing,
And so that's kind of, and that was, but you ask about now, what was the, my daddy gone.
Yeah.
And I'm right here, I'm at the height of puberty. So, you know, my mom did, she was doing what she could, but like, for her, I can't speak on their relationship. It's just that at that time, my mom never had anything positive to say about this man. So I grew up hating this man.
Gotcha.
But rewind, that cocaine, my dad was kind of strong, so like he slapped my mom around a lot.
Yeah, cocaine make you emotional. Cocaine make you like just wig out for no reason because I go even talk about that. I never did cocaine, but I knew somebody that was really close to me, and sometimes I didn't know what I was getting when he came home.
Yeah, somebody like that.
Yeah, so cocaine make you unbalanced. It messes up the endorphins in your brain, your happy endorphin. And like when they be high, they be like, ooh yeah, hee. But when they be ready to get high, they don't talk to you, nothing. So my mom never said nothing bad about my daddy, and she probably should have, but I understand why your mama did. I know it hurts, but I understand.
She's trying to process her
Own stuff.
Stuff that she's doing.
And
It's
like
hard.
the biggest, the biggest hurt that my dad, I talked with somebody about this, was that I could, because he was so high strung, I was pretty damn good football player.
Okay.
But there was no pleasing this man. 3 sacks, you could have got 5. 5 sacks, you should have recovered
I understand what you're saying.
that fumble. Tackle for a loss, you could have took that pitch to the house. You could have, everything was could. So when he wasn't around,
You felt more free.
no, it drove me, and if anybody that played with me knew that I was always trying to amp it up and take it to the next level. So when I finally made, he used to always talk about him being on varsity and all that. So when I finally made varsity, he wasn't there.
Gotcha.
When I finally excelled in high school football, when I was like the talk, till this day, nobody knew. Like a lot of people didn't know that football was my highway. That was my way.
That's what you threw yourself into.
And so I knew this man would never come to none of my games, but I still look up in the stands. I still look up in the stands because I'm like, damn.
Wishing,
You created this monster. I am the combination of all those from Little League. Every time you drove me and I would say it wasn't good enough, and now I'm here, but you're not. And that right there, just like that was, to some that may be little, but use it however you want to. But to me, that was just a deep pain because it's like, damn, the one time I never really asked nothing for you, Dad. But this is the time when I really needed you to be there. You weren't.
I understand.
I have a question. Did your dad play football?
Yes. But
Did
now.
Did he peak out or did he?
No, he just, after military family, like once you graduated, you was gone.
Yeah.
My aunts, my uncles, their children, it's like, it's just, once you graduate, there was no college, you went to the military.
Yeah. I think how it affected me, it made me very strong, yet vulnerable and fragile at the same time. I am so, like, I'm strong, I don't take no BS, I will check you, but I am vulnerable. I'm not ashamed to tell you that I'm fragile. I'm not really trusting. And I can see the BS from a mile away. So when you bullshitting me, I know it. I might not even say it, but I know it. And I might even deal with it because I like you as a person. But because he taught me so many things, it was like, that's how it affected me. It was like, dang, he made me great in a sense, like my work ethic. Because he hustled to feed his habit, he taught me that. My mom taught me that because she worked a lot. And she had to work a lot because she was trying to take care of her kids and this man. And it's not like he was consistently there. He was in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And my daddy was in and out until I was in my 30s. I'm 47. That's a lot. That showed me inconsistency. So when you trying to date,
That's
you
mom.
You accept inconsistencies for it. I had to really get past that. Like, you don't deserve that. You ain't got to put up with that. Because I know I'm great. You understand what I'm saying? But when you see your mother love a man so much, then when you finally fall in love, you give this man, because you watched your mama give a dude, I'm trying not to use the N-word, chance after chance after chance. So you start giving chance after chance. You love too hard. Because this is what me and you talked about the other day. You meet, I don't care, when you are a child of an addict, you always meet people who do drugs, or you meet a friend whose parent did, and you know, it's like y'all gravitate to one another. And it's like you attract who you are. Yeah. And so what you try to do is you try to either save the person that got the issue, or you try to comfort your friend who, because when I met you, like the first conversation we had, that's what we had in common. And how do you keep, and I think until you heal yourself, you keep attracting the stuff you grew up with. I don't want to attract that. I don't want to be in a relationship with a dude that got an issue. Now I don't mind having friends who've been through what I've been through, because I can relate to them and they can relate to me, and we can help some people. Right. But I think that's how it affected me. I don't know about nobody else. It's how it affected me. What did it teach you? That was the next question on the list.
I think you said something. It's hard for me to trust. And then once the trust is broken, because I married an addict, so that says a lot.
I did too.
But once the trust is broken, I don't have any, I just don't have the respect. Like, everything goes. It's respect, the everything. And I may even start back, like if you're my girlfriend, I'll start back talking to you,
but I don't
can't
trust
let
you.
it go. And my sister tells me all the time, like, I can't help it, because I have conditioned myself to be able to accept the heartbreak, but keep going. Like, oh, you disappointed me, but I have a conversation with myself. Like, my mom stole jewelry from me one time when I was in the shower. So I confronted her about it. But then my grandmother was like, no, this is your mother, and you can't hate her, you can't try to fight her, you can't do this. You gotta love her. So then I'm conditioned to love the people that take it from me.
BS.
Correct. But then I don't trust you. So now, as I move through life, I'm not trusting the people that God really created to love and nurture you and for you to trust. Yeah. So it creates a cloud and confusion, because once I can't trust you, I'll have nothing for you. Yeah. And so I really had to grow and work on that to normalize it, because that's not, you should trust people until they prove themselves not trustworthy, but then you just don't break ties. So it's so easy for me to just say, you know what, Mimi, I ain't gonna never talk to you again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for saying that word. Go ahead with yourself.
No, I
But
understand
I
that.
had to learn how to say, you know what? In life, people hurt you,
Yep.
and you gotta cope with it. And
Yeah.
you gotta, you gotta be normal. And everybody looks normal, but everybody has
Ain't
broken
normal.
pieces somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and so just it's complicated, but it's just like not
It's so
throwing people away.
simple yet so complex. Because what I think it taught me, and I don't know about y'all, how to keep secrets.
Oh, because that's the first thing in the black household.
But when you
We're
have
all
a
in this house,
when-
stay in this house.
when
and
you
get
have a
traditionalized
parent that's
that.
an addict, because some addicts can really function, and it's a secret. It's like a weight. It's like, what if they know? What if they can see it? What if they
And so
what
then
if they
you
don't
don't
judge me for what he does?
So you build up a wall because I can only let you get so far.
Yeah.
Because if you get,
Because I can't let you
see
in.
all of this.
I mean, and look, once my dad got deep into his addiction, you could see my dad and tell he was an addict. He was fast talking, blah, blah, blah. But you could see it. But me, I'm going to keep this secret. I'm not going to tell nobody unless I trust you. So I remember when I was a kid, in the 8th grade, it's a couple of things. My dad used to wake me and my sister up. I was in the 8th grade. I was 13 years old. And he would wake me up in the morning and say, come on, baby, we got to go to work. Now, I got to go to school in the morning. And this is probably why I struggled in the 8th grade. He would wake me up and he would say, you're going to be my lookout. And that's in the 80s when they were still hubcaps. Hubcaps was worth money. So he would go and he said, if anybody comes, you drive off. I can't drive. But then not only that, if the police come, I'm your Uncle Billy. I'm like, damn. So now you teach me how to lie, but you telling me don't lie. You teaching me how to keep secrets, but I'm supposed to tell you the truth. That's the confusing thing when you have a parent as an addict, and especially if you have a mom that's codependent. It teaches you like, you don't want to call, I know my mom was fragile. The things that she had to deal with him. But at the same time, hey Tina Boo. But that's what it taught me. It taught me how to keep secrets. What about you?
My situation just made me look at myself. It forced me to look at myself because of the void. Because now I'm my dad's son, and I'm trying to be something great, but my mom is looking at me because we look
just
like. So it's any little thing I did was, you're gonna be just like your daddy. You're gonna be like your daddy. Just gonna be like your daddy. And that was almost Bible. Like it's just so it was kind of like this determination. And man, the funniest thing about this is at one point, here it is, I'm trying so hard to not be like this man. I'm being like this man.
How did it make you feel knowing that she hated him, so to speak?
She hated him because she loved him.
Right. When she was saying that.
The way she felt about him, I was when you a child, and you don't care who it is hitting on your mama. You on mama's side. So I always had a problem with him. So with her having a problem with him, it really didn't. I'm like, okay, but I just felt like, okay, we were years into this. You can let it go now. I mean, it's like, but then, like I said, retrospective, she kept bringing him up because I was around.
And you looked like him.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because it's a challenge. And then at that time, and I don't know your age, but at that time period, that was a common thing to say because they didn't grow up watching Oprah, we did. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't know that, wait a minute, that's gonna have an effect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but at that time, because I can remember, other people saying the same thing. So when I married an addict, didn't realize that, but I made it a point to try to be positive. even though he did things, but when I divorced him, one of the things my kid said was like, we've been ready for you to let that go. And don't ever go back. Like, why are you doing this? And my daughter, you know, he ran a car into a ditch before I moved to Houston 4 years ago. And my daughter, we had taken her to the emergency room, and I'm trying to get there, codependency. Don't pee, do this. You know, it's better to pee on yourself, we'll get your clothes. Like, trying to hip him, because the sheriff was like, you're going to jail tonight, but I'm trying to
Protect him.
And my daughter said, listen, I'm not even going in the emergency room. I don't care if he lives, I don't care what.
Wow.
She was like, that's on you. And I don't know why you're doing this, because you're not married to him anymore. But I have a friend that's a therapist, and there's a book called Codependence No More. I had to start reading that and studying that, because you don't realize, like, I was in a household with a man that was verbally and physically abusive, and I couldn't tell anybody because I didn't want my family to hate him. I didn't want my kids to hate him. But at the same time, he made 4.5 times more than I did. So I can't afford it. So when you get drunk and you get high and you locked up, I gotta go send an email to your boss. I have a family emergency, I won't be in today. Thanks, with his name. Because you make too much money to go to jail. Because my kids can't be on the street. Yeah. And then that becomes codependence. But the codependence came out of the necessity to survive, because I can't take my kids to my family house. And then now they're talking about the kid's dad on Sunday. Yep. You understand what I'm saying?
That was the next
I'm trying
question.
to preserve.
How did growing up the child of an addict with your decision making?
It did.
And it really screws with your decision making.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to be the best part of my dad I could be without being an addict. I remember the first time I smoked weed, it sent me into such a great depression, because I put it on the same level as a heroin addict. No, not knowing that weed is really no big deal. But if you, like, I come to realize I do have a little bit of an addictive behavior. Because once I get started on something, I don't stop. Yes. My sister be like, okay, you let me put it in the trash? Because I'm just like a steamroller. When I started working on my show, I just keep doing it. You know, if I started making cookies, I'm gonna have to really go into prayer to stop making them.
Don't stop.
Once I
don't stop. Get it.
But
those cookies are the bomb. Chick-fil-A, she coming for you. That's all I got to say. Keep talking.
Yeah, I usually sell them during the holidays, but I don't think I'm doing it. But what I'm saying is, I wanted to be the best part of him I could be. Well, how you said, how your daddy said it wasn't never good enough. And parents don't understand how it affects you, because I was a great songwriter and I was a pretty decent singer, but I remember riding with my dad or being with my dad, and my dad told me I couldn't sing. So what that did to me was, and I think it was his fear. I think even though he used to see a lot of my sister in him, he saw a lot of me in him. Because my sister was more the homebody, am I right or wrong? And I was like a busybody. I was a people person. I was always at every party.
You were the risk of him. Like, you were the part of him that put him at risk for these other things, and he didn't want it to happen to you.
Because I remember in the 80s, we had a saying, oh, that was whack. Like that. And I said that in front of my dad, don't you ever use whack. And I was like, what are you talking about, Daddy? It's just a term, you know. It means it's not good. It means it's whack. And he went off. And that was like in the 8th grade. And I was like, damn, this dude really got an issue. He really got an issue. So, what's my next question? Oh, my next question is, well, we kind of went over there. How did it shape you as a person? So we kind of went over that. So let's go to the next question. Did you ever learn to forgive your parent?
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
I've learned. I'm at a point of, I'm past denial, so I'm through the stages of grief, because I feel like I had a loss. I didn't have a mother there. I didn't have a father there. I'm at a point of beginning to forgive, because now I have a clarity about what her life experience was on this earth, or is, or has been on this earth. And so I'm getting a clarity, and I'm beginning to forgive. Yeah. But it's a struggle for me, because, you know, she's only been clean since March because she was diagnosed with lung cancer. So for me, I'm always probably positive for everyone else, but for me, I'm like, yeah, nigga, you're gonna be back. I don't trust her. She's broken it so many times that I'm just like, yeah, nigga, I'm gonna let you go back and you're gonna be back. Like in my mind, but I want her to succeed. But the child in me is like, don't let her hurt you.
There's this guard that we put up as adult kids. You know, even when my dad got clean, because I believe my dad had been clean before he passed, maybe 12 years. And I was always looking at him with the side eye like, you all right? It was like I would call him, you good? Or like, there was this one particular time, because my dad would come and go, and I was living in my house at the time, and me and my ex-husband had separated, and it was crazy. I felt so abandoned because my husband left me, and then my dad left me. It was like in the same week. And he usually would just like wait till we would go to sleep and leave in the middle of the night, and this particular day he didn't. He said, baby, I'm going to leave such and such a day. I thought that was very big. And I drove him to the freeway because he said, can you just get me to the freeway? And I said, okay, Daddy, no problem. And I drove him to the freeway, and I was a kid in my car. I couldn't exit the freeway. I followed him past the north side. And my thing was, he's hurting right now. I'm crying in my car. He's crying in his car. I could see the tears coming down his face. And I was like, but don't get from behind him because I don't want him to exit in 3rd Ward. And he had been clean for years. And I was like, it broke my heart to see him leave. And so I remember when I looked up, I was on the north side, like deep in the north side. And I called a friend. I was like, I think it was Corey. I said, I can't get off the freeway. I'm boo-hooing like a little 10-year-old kid. I can't get off the freeway because it was breaking my heart that my daddy was leaving again. And I'm in my 30s. I might have been 40. No, I was I was almost 40. And I'm like, I can't exit the freeway. Somebody help me exit the freeway. And then he came back again, and him and my mom were talking about getting back together, and my mom got sick with cancer, and that week, at the end of the week, on Saturday, he asked her when was she going to be home from work. And we had already discussed, he about to go again. And when she came home from work, he was gone. And so for 3 years, I didn't talk to my dad. 3 whole years, and I was like, I don't got nothing to say to him. And my sister was like, you gotta make it right, dog. And that's the story. I was like, I'm so glad that I did. It was Father's Day. I was so broken. I was divorced. My dad was gone. My dad had left my mom. I was angry. I had called him on the phone, and I was like, if you die, I don't want nobody wasting their minutes calling me because I don't care, and you're a coward. I always thought all my life, because it wasn't nothing for my dad to whoop somebody's ass. It was nothing. And I was like, all this time I've been thinking you're strong, you're not, you're a coward. How could you do this to my mom? And I couldn't bring myself to go to church on Father's Day because I was just too hurt. My husband had left me, my dad had left me, and I was sitting in the backyard in our pool, and I was like talking to my sister on the phone, and she was like, man, just call him. Just call him. I said, I can't, because I'm hurt. I can't. And when I called him on the phone, he thought I was my sister. And then he was like, Meatball? And I was like, yes, sir. Hey. And I was like, hey, Dad. I said, look, I'm 40-something years old. I don't want anything from you. I just want us to start from scratch. You don't owe me any Christmas gifts. I just want my daddy to love me, and I want to love my dad. And he said, okay. And when we don't talk, because you have a sister, we need to find her. I said, okay, I'll do my best, Daddy. You say her name the same as mine, so I'll look on Facebook, see if I can find her. Do you know, that night, I don't even eat Taco Bell. I was sitting at the table, eating Taco Bell, and you know how you get the notifications from Facebook on the phone? It said, please. And I hit the notification in my messenger, and she was like, hi, my name is Michelle, and I think you're my sister. You could, look, God's orchestration is no joke. And I was like, this guy, somebody's punking me. Where is, what's his name?
Ashton Kutcher.
Where is Ashton? And I said, Daddy, did you know where Michelle was and just didn't say anything to me? And he was like, nah. I said, she just messaged me on Facebook. He said, send me a picture. So she sent me a picture, and I sent it to my blessed mother, that's my stepmother. And she sent me a picture of her, her mom, and her granddad. He said, yep, that's her. He hadn't seen her since she was 5. And I just was grateful to God that I listened to my sister, I listened to the Holy Spirit, and I forgave him, because if she would have sent me that message and I was still angry, I would have tainted her view on him. She had the best dad, because 3 years later after they met, he died. And I'm grateful that I was able to forgive him so she could have the dad she needed. Because I can only imagine how she feels. I always tell her, girl, you're grateful and you're blessed that you didn't have him growing up. We went through hell sometimes. He was fun. Like you talk about the arcade. He would remember when he used to take us to go play Miss Pac-Man and Centipede and give us $20? You remember that?
Just remember stealing her cap.
Yep, but he would give us the money at night. But see, I loved him so much. He would ask, can I borrow the money? I'll give it back to you when I come back.
That's how they
Tina was like, look, this is my money. You woke me up, I lost sleep. And I was like, here, Daddy, just take mine. And that's the type of stuff that it teaches you. Like when you said you went to the pawn shop with your gifts. That's like an installment that they put to the side. They put to the side because they know they're going to need it later.
Until this day, I don't.
You don't equate that with that.
No, I don't go to pawn shops. I don't do pawn shops. I do not
Yeah.
do pawn shops. I don't care if they got stuff that I may need. I have this thing about pawn shops.
Yeah.
What about his forgiveness?
He said he forgot. Did you say that?
Yeah, I mean, over time, it had to happen.
I purged.
That was good. It had to happen over time. I will say this, me, myself, I had to get saved first because I had what was going on before I got saved was just a growing hatred. Just sometimes for no reason. It's like the more and more he wasn't there, the longer he stayed away, the longer I stayed angry. And then there were those times when there was a little time during my freshman year he popped in, he was gone. He come into town. I'm sorry, biggest drug organization in the United States is the VA hospital. Because I'll get this call, hey, can I come stay with you? You know, I have my own place. Hey, can I come stay with you? I need to go to the VA. I already know why you're going to the VA. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to come down. We're gonna get to have these weird conversations about, you're gonna tell me about life and ask me how I've been doing, and then you're gonna go to the VA and I'm not gonna see you for years. And after a while, it's just kind of, you're like, okay,
You already know.
It's a pattern.
This is what he does. I'm letting it get to me because I kind of deep down inside, I want my daddy.
Yeah.
The child in you never grows up. You always want your parent.
So I get excited when he comes, but then I'm always upset. Then I had to ask myself, okay, why am I getting upset? This is what he does. That's your dad. This is what he does. It's not, it's not doing you any good. So I accepted that that's who he is. I've chosen to love him. I've also chosen to get the facts, both sides.
Yeah.
And if you watch Mama wasn't the same. my mama know how to. I'm not advocating anything, but yeah, my mom was a firecracker too. So when I got older and I, just started, talk to her brothers and sisters, and just these, just to get a sense of who my parents really were back then. I was like, okay, he wasn't just this. She was just mad. He wasn't just this bad dude. Bad situation. They got into arguments. So when I was able to just take all that in, it was like, hey, you know what? I learned a lot of what not to do.
Yes.
So I took the good out of it. It's like my dad, every time he would leave, he would just leave. Me and my children's mom are not together, but the one thing that they know
Is their dad.
is that the communication is always there. Always. I send my daughter messages, text messages, Instagram, IMOs, video call. My son, here's the key to my place. If you have doubt, concern, whatever, if you just get tired, I'm here. I don't keep my phone on for business. I don't keep my phone on for women. I don't keep my phone on for foolishness. I keep my phone on for my kids. And just because I don't want them to feel anything like I felt growing up. And thank God, rest in peace, Coach Kenny and Jim Phillips. My football coaches became my dads.
Yeah.
They were great men, great stand-up men.
Yeah.
And so that got me through a little bit, and even till today, like I said, Coach Kenny has passed, but Coach Phillips, I can call him today, and for if I just need something fatherly, if I have a moment, I can call him. I mean, I have others that I can call. Thank God for that. But for the most part, my number one thing is just the communication as a father to my kids. I keep that open, ready, all times, anytime. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. You need to stay on the phone for me, talking about nothing for hours, go right ahead. Because of the effect that had on me, I don't want none of my kids to be be 40 years old.
Still trying to wrestle with
the
residue of addiction. Yeah.
Well put.
In your words, describe a child of an addict.
Broken.
You took it right from me. I don't know no other word but that. Because that's really what left me.
I think when I used to get into like serious relationships, I would tell the guy, like once I kind of let the guard down a little bit, not too much, I would say stuff like, I'm fragile and my heart is super glued. So please handle it with care. And I think when I told them that my heart was super glued, they thought it was from like past relationships, but it just didn't start with a past relationship. The first relationship a girl has is with her dad. So if my daddy can break my heart, I don't put nothing past you. So if I trust you to be in my space and place, I'm letting you know, hey, my heart is super glued together, and if I'm entrusting you with it, please handle it with care. Just like I feel like a mother is the caregiver. So, your mom is usually the one that you lean on for nurturing and, take you to get your dress, like when you was getting married, and you didn't really have that to share, so.
So my mom was because my wedding to my husband was in 2 weeks, we had been engaged for a year and I was on the road anyway. So in 2 weeks we planned our wedding. My mom, I bought her dress. She came to the wedding. She zoomed down the aisle. As soon as we said our dues, she was out.
Wow.
She didn't even say bye, she was out.
She had something to do.
She and my ex-husband, and she maintained a close relationship, but he has an addictive personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's why, but it was just like, it's always those stolen moments. It's always those special moments when you just really need a parent. Like I was talking to someone before, and they were saying, you can tell the poor kids at school when it's time to dress up. Because when it's time to dress up, they usually don't have a tie. They usually don't have decent shoes. And in this day and age, it's kind of different, but they don't have those different style clothes. So it's just one of those things, like when it's time to be there in those special moments, that's when you really miss having a parent that's
a responsible parent.
Correct. A responsible parent. So I've always tried to show up for my kids, and I've always tried to be intentional about parenting. So when it came down to those things that they needed to know to survive in the world, I've tried my best to be intentional. And I'm more religious than I am superstitious, but I'm just praying that I did them just being broken.
Amen. Amen. But you know what? God is good, because before I do the round table, when I look at us, we're blessed.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of kids who grow up with a parent that's an addict and they follow in their parents' footsteps.
Yes.
Or they get into a lifestyle that they can't get out of. And I think there are two different types of kids who are parents of an addict. One follows in the footsteps or gets into the streets, and the other is so driven.
Yeah.
Like, you become so engulfed in being great at whatever you do is because you don't want to end up like them. You want to be the better part of them. My dad, I said every time, he was a phenomenal vocalist. He could sing circles around you, and he was able, before he left this world, see my sister tour the world. See her on big stages, not little clubs. I'm talking about on big stages. And he had that opportunity, but drugs took that away from him. So I believe, not just me, but the three of us, we are the best part of what our parents was. We're the best part of them, because they weren't bad people. They just made bad choices.
Yeah.
And no person, no addict wants to be an addict.
No.
They want to be what God intended them to be. But somebody has to be that person to teach people what not to do.
Yes.
You know what, Mimi? That's one of the things that I'm learning. I was so resentful that my grandmother raised me, and I felt like my mother didn't stand up. But what I know is the best thing she ever did for me
Protect you.
was to say, I can't do this. I need you, Mom, to raise my child.
Yeah.
And it's like a catch-22. Like, I'm grateful for that, but
I understand.
I'm just kind of wrestling with, like, I wish you could have, because I know that my mother, when I was in elementary school and I lived with her, I couldn't make C's. I brought a C home on a quiz, and she demanded a parent-teacher conference, because she said, my child don't make C's. Why did she get a C? Fast forward to when I was in high school, I lived with my grandmother. She didn't care what I did, as long as I went to school and passed.
Yeah.
But my mother was very attentive when she was outside of these other influences of drugs and alcohol.
I'm telling you, my mama said when she was in the 10th grade, he was in the 12th grade. When she was in 11th grade, he was in 12th grade. When she was in 12th grade, he was in 12th grade. When she graduated, he stopped going.
Because he was like, I'm done.
And I remember being in the 10th grade, and I brought a report card home that had D's and else on it. Because you have to understand, now that I look back, we had a lot to deal with. You know,
Mine wasn't the priority.
I couldn't focus, and I probably had a little taste of ADD anyway. You know, I learned differently than everybody else. But I remember I had B's and F's on my report card. He said, "This don't stand for fantastic and dynamic. You better not ever bring these grades in this house again." And I'm thinking to myself, "But Mama told me
You didn't even graduate.
you didn't even do what you're supposed to do." But that's because they want better for us than what they have for themselves.
I agree.
So, what? We already got a question. What advice would you give your younger self that could also help someone else in your situation? This is the round table.
I was angry. I was angry, and it manifested in so many different ways. Like most kids at school thought that I was stuck up or a little crazy because you say something to me and I'm ready to fight all day, everybody in the room. So I feel like I was so angry, and I would just want to tell myself to lighten up, to breathe, to live life every moment one at a time, because that's really all you have. And I spent so much time trying to prove myself that I'm just as good as this child that has their parents. Because unless you're the child that your parent doesn't show up for anything, unless you're the child at band and nobody's there, unless you're the child at the honors night and nobody's there, you don't know what it feels like when people know you don't have support. When adults know a child doesn't have support, they treat them differently. And that contributes to them feeling less than, even though they're outstanding and amazing. So I would just say to my younger self, you are amazing, and you don't have to be so angry, and just breathe.
Amen. What about you?
I would have told a few of my younger selves. I mean, if I can talk to the little boy, I guess I would have told him to, just, go hug daddy a little bit more. Go tell him to love, jump up in his lap. You don't know, but if I would tell him something, just let him know that he's daddy and that he's loved. Outside of making these little cards from school and stuff like that. Because my mom wasn't a mom to say, go hug your daddy, go tell your daddy you appreciate him. She just didn't do that. That wasn't the norm. When he first stepped away, I guess I would, tell myself that I'd be all right. Him not being here doesn't define me as a failure.
Gotcha.
I would tell myself that, your mom is just mad when she says what she says, about you and your dad, and you go there she's upset, just push through. It's gonna be okay. And I would probably just get myself to, find somebody that I feel like I could trust. If it was a friend's parent, or, a church member, or, a relative, I would just, somebody that I feel like that I could confide in, I would tell them, hey, just talk to that person.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, and I'm pretty sure it's one thing to hold in life's issues, but these kind of life issues where you're, so many kids, not only just, so many kids today have to go to school keeping it together because this, because my parents, when I get home, my parent may be blacked out, laying on the couch, strung out, but I gotta go to school and keep it together.
Same face.
Like everything is okay. And that takes a lot of strength as a kid.
Yes.
Now we talking as grown-ups, but there was a transition where, right now our muscles are developed, but in that developing stage of keeping that stuff in, that took a lot, because you literally had to and this is not drugs. I realized I was able to literally leave myself at an early age. Just literally, you know, when I wake up in the morning, in school they call me Big John.
Mm-hmm.
That was my persona. I had to, for that whole day, I had to be Big John. But you know, with my dad not being there, it's the things that happen. Like, okay, so say what was it? So like, you know, my dad wasn't there for my first wet drink.
Okay.
He wasn't there when I was, you know, attracted to breasts and butts and stuff like that. He wasn't there when I got into like a really big school fight. He wasn't there when me and my friends got guns pulled on us. Well, I mean, he wasn't there because, you know, I have a car. So we go into other cities, just, you know, doing what we do. But then when you in the shit that, oh, this is the shit that my dad was in. It's like, he wasn't there to say that's wrong. So this is how I process it. This is shit my dad was in. He survived it. I can too. So let's do it. So there's just to look back on. There's just different facets of my younger self that I would have to give, you know, different pieces of advice to, because it wasn't. Yeah, I know you know it's just not one phase. Mm-hmm. This is a continuous thing until you're able to say, this is that person. This is what they've done. Okay, I realize it. I still love them. I forgive them. But that journey, that all hubcaps, like that's
80s.
No, I'm saying, because I shared this. I would work near River Oaks, and I took a wrong way to get to work. But this is why I don't go through River Oaks. This is why I don't even like the word River Oaks, because my dad was dating a woman after my mom, and she was a nurse for this old woman in River Oaks. So, you know, occasionally my dad go visit her. I'd be doing my thing, but he was fixing her tire. She took his car to work, and he was outside fixing the tire, supposedly. And I never forget, he said, my daddy told me to go inside, go upstairs. He told me the drawer, and there was an envelope of money in there. This Negro had me rob a house. And what we looking at, about 5th, 6th grade. But you grow up, and fast forward to today, I'm not really realizing, I just realized when I hear River Oaks, it's a nasty sound, it's a nasty taste. And I really never pinpointed why until that day I'm driving through there. I'm looking at this house, I'm like, man, I don't even want to be over here. And then I remember what happened.
Yeah. I think the advice that I would give my younger self, that I would pray that could help somebody else, is that it's okay and it's not your fault. And take the good, the bad, and the indifferent that your dad taught you to elevate yourself. Because everything that you've went through as a child has built you for greatness. Built you for greatness. So it's not your fault. And understand as a child that this is not a reflection of you.
Correct.
He's sick from a bad choice that he made. And continue to be the best you that you can be, so whether he's alive or looking down on you as your guardian angel, that he will be pleased that you turned out better than he or she did. Love yourself enough to not put yourself in situations that you were in as a child. Meaning, watch who you attract. Heal yourself. Get some therapy. That's what I would say. Whether it's talking to a friend or just talking to a true therapist where you're on the couch, I'm saying get you some help. So that's what I would say to my younger self. It's okay to talk to somebody and don't keep secrets. And, you know, as an adult, me and my dad had conversations about his addiction, and I told him, please, I don't want to see you die this way. But if you notice it younger, confront it, because they want some help. So it's okay. Thank you guys for being vulnerable. Thank you guys for being transparent. Do we have any questions? Did anybody have anything to say?
You just have Lisa Parker said, I agree with you, Mimi. I've learned now that I'm not able to keep trusting someone that keeps doing the same things. It's hard to trust people.
Yeah.
That was your last comment.
I'll go through the questions because I know it's probably a lot of questions, a lot of comments. See, wow. Do me a favor right now. Click the share button right now. There's a share button. I think it's to your left. Just click the button and share right now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for being patient with us. This is the longest show we've had, but I hope that it blessed you. I hope that it helped someone. I hope that it helped you guys for being transparent. Sometimes we have to purge as kids who have gone through these types of things, and just know that if you are somebody out there that's been through that and you have fallen to the dark side, there is help. If you know somebody who is addicted to drugs, it is help. Please get help. And I'm praying for you. I'll be continually praying for you guys. Thank you guys. We had a death in our family, so thank you for all your calls, your thoughts, and your prayers. Please continue to keep my cousin lifted in prayer. And I want to do a PSA. If you're ever in the drive-thru and you need to get your food, put your car in park. Because that freak accident changed our lives forever. Before you reach for your food, put your car in park. I love you guys. Next week, we're going to do the manuscript, A Man's Guide to Dating. I mean, a lot of women talking about they can't find a good man, or the people that they date are crappy, but sometimes it's what you put out. So they're going to give their advice on how to date, and they're going to answer all of your questions, so send your questions in. And that's it for the day. God bless you guys. Thank you. Remember to laugh, remember to love, remember to be the light, and always bear good fruit. This is hashtag I'm Just Saying. God bless you.
Come on, baby, I need you closer.